Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for subscribing. That helps me out a lot. And let's talk why you should never avoid fishing docks. I don't care if every fish on the lake is out in a big school offshore. There will be something on the docks, and it's one of the greatest shallow water patterns that's ever existed. You can do it all over the country. More people are building docks than ever before, and every lake has at least some docks. So my biggest thing about docks is it is a big backup plan. If the fish are there or not, it doesn't necessarily always have to be a pattern. It may just be one dock, and you will see a school of fish will just go and get under one dock at times. So there's a lot of different ways to fish docks. There's probably a lot of videos on how to fish docks. I'm not going to go too far into that. I'm just going to give you a couple scenarios that I've seen where docks have really bailed me out. So the first one would be anytime you have falling water, that really messes up the shallow bite. So let's say you're catching them all over the bank, wherever on the lake, and the water starts dropping. Well, what will happen to those fish that are just set up on the bank is they'll just swim out. They'll kind of just suspend and swim out into the abyss, and they're pretty much uncatchable at that time. And not all the little fish will leave, but most of your bigger fish that you're catching, they're smarter. They know what falling water tends to mean, and they just move off the bank. Well, what I've seen happen is I go out and grind my limit of 2-pounders out on the bank. All the big fish I was catching are gone. But the dock fish, if I have a dock or two where I was getting them to bite up real shallow on the dock, those bigger fish won't leave the dock. They'll just pull out to the deepest part of it. So when everyone comes in at the end of the day, they've all got their 2-pounders because all the big fish left all the shallow places. If you fish that dock, you're probably going to get those same fish that were on it in practice to bite. They'll be positioned completely different, but that is a huge thing. If you can get one 5-pounder off that dock when no one's catching 5-pounders because the bite has just totally went away everywhere on the lake. That's happened to me a few times, and you capitalize on that one bite, you come in and everyone's thinking, dang, dude, how'd you catch a 5-pounder? Well, I had some cover that was really going to work with the falling water. Now, another thing I find happens a lot on docks is these are great pre-spawn places. These are great places really close to spawning areas. And what will happen is a school of fish, like a whole year class of fish that goes into spawn in an area, they might stage on the dock. And those same fish, when they come back every year, you know, when they're a year old, when they're 2-year-old, when they're 3-year-old, when they keep coming back, they will come back to that same thing. Now, maybe they'll stop somewhere else, but you got to check that dock because every couple of years, those fish will land on that dock and it'll be a full school. I mean, you can load the boat just on one little, 3 or 4 docks, or maybe it's a little arm of a marina or something like that. And that has been a big deal for me, especially this time of year where you may not have a bunch of groups of fish found and you have a backup plan where fish will bite on high pressure, they'll bite on sun, all those things that you know about docks, you can go in there and catch them and they'll be just loaded. So definitely something to check out this time of year. But it's one of those things where you don't necessarily need a lot of time on the water to get good at fishing docks. You can learn how to flip a jig underneath the dock in your backyard or in your family room. You just got to kind of get good at pitching and flipping and casting, but it's, totally a technique thing. And what I find happens a lot on docks for me is I never really get comfortable. Every single dock is a little bit different. So you're never going to get into this really flowy comfort zone when you're fishing docks. It's just one of those things where it's going to feel a little awkward at times, but once you get that skip or you get that flip, you got it figured out, and wherever you go has docks, so you can always make that work. Even if it's not, the main thing going on in the lake, you might have one dock in the back of the creek, and the biggest fish that lives in that creek arm may be underneath that dock. You'll have fish in the current on docks. You'll have all different kinds of scenarios, and there's going to be fish on them, no matter where you're at in the lake. So check out the docks as a secondary pattern always when fishing, and good luck to you guys, and I'll see you on the water.